to say, because I have been actually working on a little bit of writing.
Good job. Good job.
So, because the thing was, I actually had some of these ideas come to me on my way driving today from work today.
Ooh, good place.
And so I was always having a hard time describing how I wanted to form the species of the from it and all, and how it happens. So basically, there's a 1,000-year-old war, and the celestial beings would scorch the land. They would scorch the mountains and the forest would cry out as they rapidly burned out. This was the time of war, where the celestial beings were on a mission to wipe out the dwarfs' environments. That is why they would destroy the mountains and forests to keep the dwarfs from rebuilding their civilizations again. However, the celestial being angered the goddess of nature who reigned over the mountains and the forests. For the mountain and the forest cried out to the gods, but only the goddess responded to their cry. The other goddess did not care, except for the fact that the calamity god was delighted by the celestial actions. For the calamity gods only care about wanting to be entertained by chaotic activities such as war. So the goddess of natures appeared in front of the leader of the dwarfs and declared alliances with the dwarfs. As proof of the alliances, the goddess created a new species from the scorched iron left over from the destructions of the mountains and the seeds left over from the burnt forest by merging the irons and seeds with the growth into a humanoid form, creating a new species born from the mountains and forests called the Forge.
Ooh. Nice.
How's that?
I like it.
I like it. It sounds very epic in nature.
Did you like it?
Really?
Ruran, come to my tent, Ruran.
Since you're on, can I ask you a question?
What
will people think if I tried to have sex with Brady boy and it turned out to be Brady girl?
Anyway, Saki, so how 1,000-year war? Explain that. How can they sustain a 1,000-year war? That's a world building question I'm always kind of curious about.
So you celestial beings, they're kind of like immoral beings. So they live for a long time. The dwarfs, they live long lives too. So pretty much it's just a long barren war, and one of the reason why the war kept going on is because of the innovations that the dwarfs had. They were able to rebuild their civilization. They were able to repair themselves and all. But the celestial beings were getting so tired of going back and forth with them. So they decided, okay, the only way that we're actually going to end this freaking war is if we scorch everything. We scorch the whole entire mountains, the forest, everything. Because it's the only way that we're going to actually keep them from coming back, because they're like fucking cockroaches.
Oh yeah,
that's just how the Celestials view them.
Well, yeah, because Celestials, like, they are larger than us. They live so long that it's the gap between is humans and ants. So of course they would view as kind of like insects or vermin.
Yeah, we're just wildlife to them.
Yeah, so that's what it is. However, it really upset the goddess of nature because it didn't just damage the dwarf civilization. It destroyed everything else that were living there, because they were not the only beings that actually lived in those environments. And except the other gods just didn't fucking care. They were like, whatever. And she was the only one that responded, so she decided to form an alliance.
Huh?
Sweet.
So that's what I got so far, because I'm trying to build, like, you know, the fundamental structure of the world.
Does the goddess pick something of an avatar or an individual in the group to represent her, or is she able to take physical form and interact with them like you or I would?
That I haven't gotten the details. I just know because I wanted to focus on how the forge got created. And the idea is I want to take from those two environments, from the mountains, the iron from the mountains, and the seedlings and all. And so so the seedlings would grow into like a humanoid form, and then the iron would be like merged onto the humanoid form. So that was important because that's important for their physiology format for why did we have, wooden creatures with iron formed, and that's why it is, because most people think so. Okay, mountains is not really nature, but really it is, because there's all kinds of life that lives on mountains and stuff too. So it's not but
it's not just the enclave of the dwarves. It's a home for a whole variety and a whole ecosystem all its own.
Yes, and that's what I mean. Because when you, best way to think of destructions of mountains at all is what they do when they do coal. You ever seen coal mining?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They blow up the mountaintops to coal from to mine for coals.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking about when the celestial beings destroy the mountains. They are literally blowing the tops and destroying it. Which is crushing all kinds of life that's living on there too.
So is there any Princess Mononoke kind of inspiration here or no?
It's more like the goddess is only just the part to fill in for the race, because I didn't really put a lot of stock into her. She's gonna probably be more of a mysteries being, because she's only going to be like that brief part where I talk about in the story, because otherwise I'm going to focus on the dwarves and the forge more than anything.
She will be a mysterious being, a question more than an answer.
Exactly.
The wind, ever present but rarely seen, and also not understood.
Exactly, because I mean, her significant is not. I don't think her significant. I don't consider her significant. I only consider her significant about when it talks about the creations of the forge, because how the forge came into about, because that's just a key part to understand how the war overturned, because that was the turning point of the war, where the dwarves end up winning against the celestial. So it's going to be a famous war in history inside of my world.
Well, sweet. I'm glad you're getting back to writing. I know you were kind of like hesitant to do it, but yeah, no, I'm excited for you. That's really cool.
Well, the biggest problem that I have is that the words that always come to mind are words that I always have trouble with spelling. So I always would try to find a way to go around it. But whenever I did that, my writing got worse, and you couldn't understand what I was saying.
It's a hard process. Like Otter and I talked about this a little bit with his book, how he was going to have some characters like speaking old English before. And
oh God, don't remind me of all the iterations it went through.
And so far, what I've read of it is he uses some older words, but it's readily understandable by mere mortals such as you and I.
There was a couple that I had to make him change, because I'm like, no person's going to really know what you're saying.
You have all these old words, and then you just have athletic tits in there. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's strange, Otter. It's really weird.
Well, it's kind of like, when we were going through character development, Kahuna, I'm like, well, what would a pompous otter say?
That's a question. Really?
Well,
yeah,
no.
We worked on some of those lines, and we made them a little more even more lordly.
Like,
so really,
Milak
what would a lordly otter say?
Well, he's the
That's
river
the shadow
lord,
of a
and I'm
doubt.
like, okay, what would a long-winded, pompous river lord say? Okay.
Oh my God.
He's not. Look, Otter. He ain't racist, he doesn't hate any other races. He just knows he's better than them. It's a different thing.
just
entirely.
You just want to become the verbose version of the Monopoly guy.
Yeah,
That's
see,
exactly what
Andrew's
China
got it
is
right.
actually
Andrew's
better.
got it right. Like Sasquatch is a mountain, folks. Yeah.
Yeah.